Hi everyone, this is Chris from TOPHCAM, and we're going to talk about fragrances I'll be wearing into the early days of fall. I'm recording this sort of late summer, so Houston, Texas, it's still going to be hot. So my fragrances aren't going to go too spicy at this time. So I figured I'd share with you the fragrances I'm currently rotating between that I'm really loving and that I can see myself using definitely into fall for sure. As always, I will have all of these fragrances linked below so you can check them out. Before I forget, don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell so you can receive notifications when I post a new video. So without further ado, first we have Jordan Samuel's scent, Cortile Dolce. It's definitely a nod to classic colognes. It's very splashy, definitely a woody base. I want to say it's like a dry cedar. But then the jasmine that's in there and the lime leaf give it such a nice lift. More complexity than just bergamot and, lemon, let's say. And I would say after about an hour, in fact, the jasmine really comes out. It's a very sweet, candied jasmine almost. It has a brightness to it, not the traditional kind of earthy, moody, let's say, that you would get from a jasmine flower plucked right off the bush. But it's so nice. It has this freshly washed hair quality, enlivening and welcoming, I could see this being good for all ages, all genders. Most seasons, I would say it definitely leans warm weather. It might be, you might want something a little cozier, maybe during the really cold months. But if you want that sort of, I don't want to call it tropical but it is coastal. It is definitely coastal. If you want that little vacation escape, this could be a nice way to introduce a little zest, if you will. I would say moderate sillage, moderate longevity, because it's mostly a sort of bright, zesty, citrusy kind of vibe. You can't expect it to wear the way a pure sandalwood would. But like I said, there is that cedar, that dry cedar that keeps it anchored, stretches it out. And then, like I said, as it wears, the lime leaf, the jasmine really come out and you get less citrus, you get more floral. Don't think powdery floral, think sweet candied florals, bright, happy, refreshing, clean hair. That's my adjective. I'll link this in the description box below, so if you're interested, you can check it out. It's a great way to support my channel. Then we have Maison Canaan, and this one is an interesting character. So this is supposed to be sort of a dance between, they say, a carnal tuberose and oud. And for me, oud can go a little gray, a little too dry, a little I can feel it in my teeth in a bad way. You just think of the forest floor, and you think of a tree stump where you can really see the dryness of all the rings of the tree, and it's just a dry association that I get with oud. But this oud is really, really, really smooth and soft. It's oud with cardamom. Oh, that's what it is. Tuberose absolute, neroli, pimento leaf. Okay, so it's the leaf, not the berry. Woody notes, tonka, and oud. And the pimento really stands out at the beginning. It gives it an interesting kind of Palo Santo minty. I'm getting a touch of urine. And it's not a bad thing. I think it was on purpose. I mean, this whole brand is inspired by horses, no? If you like this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's just there in the background, but it's preventing this from just being purely a white floral affair, if you will. Because neroli and tuberose are quite strong on their own, but then with the pimento, it's giving it more of a green edge. I said in one of my Instagram stories that it reminds me of LA, and I lived there for only 6 months, but just the smell of being in the city and then being in West Hollywood. And that's what I'm kind of getting here is, God, this sounds so bad if I say piss on the streets and smog in the air and beautiful flowers and trees and food smells in the air, kind of indistinguishable foods. God, when they say carnal, to describe this. It's very that. Like if you'd have to like your floral to smell very ripe. And I do. Like give me like, I don't mind like a really pretty, beautiful, picturesque floral bouquet, but I want something that smells like it also has like the mulch attached to it. That it also has like someone's dirty hands that picked it. Like to me, that's so much more interesting and that's so much more tangible. I'm all about that. I love the animalic quality of white florals, not just because the flower itself has a lot of indole, especially like a jasmine and a tuberose, where indole is that kind of fecal quality where it smells a little stinky, a little dirty, a little gross. But that's what gives it intrigue, you know? That's what gives it that sort of primal quality to it. Just the enfleurage often that was used to extract the aromas. So you will get an animalic quality with the flower. It's all of those things that you love about a white floral with that anchor of oud underneath. And it's such a special oud. It's just there to kind of wrap it around a wreath. It's a wreath. So there is a roundness associated. Maybe that's why I said wreath, because the woodiness creates a round picture alongside the pimento. It's maybe more oval, but there's curved edges on this one. I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm smelling. It doesn't have it doesn't prickle in any direction, which I really like. Let me spray some more. I think it is pretty linear too. I could say this is definitely like an all year round. I could see myself wearing this in the middle of winter because it does have that oud to just kind of give it a little bit of robustness. But then that tuberose is just so, heady and addictive that like in the heat of summer, with the sun beating down and the scent of this kind of radiating off of your skin would just be so like sexy and raw and primal and really gorgeous. This was a blind gifting request. So they reached out and said you can pick a fragrance or a candle and then a discovery set. Based on the notes and the descriptions, like this seemed to me the most in line with what I would like. And I'm just so happy that it's not just what I had imagined, but even better. The pimento is way more prominent than I thought it was going to be. And I'm so happy about that because I love the pimento, like allspice kind of vibe. I've smelled, I would say, most of the other fragrances and they're all really beautiful. I could see Noisette being a really, like a crowd pleaser. Oh, Durban Jane. It almost has like that DS and Durga, I don't know what kind of quality, and that it's a little amorphous, but really wearable and really addictive. That one's another one of those really nice, I could see it being a crowd pleaser, really sensual, rich. And then Macanudo, that was my number 2 choice in terms of full-size bottles because it has like a hay note, fresh cut grass, which I think Brie, the founder of this brand, said is like one of her earliest scent memories is like her dad mowing the lawn and the oily smell of the lawnmower with the fresh cut grass. Like I love all that. And it's a really fascinating scent, but it's not one that I think I would wear very often. I'll list both the full-size bottle and the Discovery Collection below so you can check them out. Sorry if you can hear the dish or the washing machine in the back. Let's do the third fragrance I'd like to discuss, which is An Indian Summer by Fleur by Livvy, which is part of their Tales of India collection. Now this is interesting because the notes on this kind of blend savory, salty, sweet, floral. When you first spray it, there's almost this smell of honey. So the notes here, verbena, fennel, jasmine, white lotus, kerwa, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Kewra, coriander, ginger, curry leaf, butter, CO2, patchouli, stearax, and hay. So you get this interesting honeyed note. The white florals and the lotus kind of blur together in a nice way. It just gives it like I said, that honeyed quality, you know? And then the fennel immediately starts, well, let's say within about 3 to 5 minutes, the fennel starts to come out and you get this interesting anise, licoricey suggestion. Then you get the curry leaf, which has I don't want to call it a bitterness. It's almost an acridness though, where it's quite aromatic, has like a heat to it, you know? And used here with the fennel, it gives it an interesting, salty, earthy peppery bite. I don't know how to describe this, but like when the sun hits something, it's like ozonic in a way. The sun hits something and the warmth that bounces off of it smells like the object, but then there is like an ozonic note to it because obviously the sun has the UV plus this earthy, salty, bitter, dry quality that's almost indescribable. But that's the type of warmth I'm getting with this. You know, it's not a ambery warmth, it's a solar warmth. The hay's really coming out though. And then you do get that verbena. It's green, it's a little lemony, it's a touch floral, but definitely like herbaceous, bright, not as piney as like a rosemary, not as licoricey as a tarragon. Combined together, it's, you know, honeyed florals, it's a little earthy solar warmth from like the curry leaf, the butter, and maybe it's the hay that's playing into it as well, that's adding that warmth. But yeah, it's interesting. It's almost hard to describe, but I think the name An Indian Summer is really apt. I really feel like that's a great description of what this smells like, or what I could only imagine it smells like, you know? So if you really like the aromas of like Indian cooking, Indian spices, Indian perfumery, it's so beautiful. I could actually see this being a really incredible candle as well. It has a very inviting quality to it, and it's very like atmospheric, you know? Like it really kind of creates a mood versus like, oh, yeah, you're wearing an orange blossom perfume, you know? Definitely unlike really anything I've smelled in my fragrance collection before, which makes me like it a lot, you know? I could only imagine this Maison and this Fleur by Livvy layering together beautifully. That Maison is so round, whereas this Fleur by Livvy is like a broad landscape. Like I'm really like, it's almost like I'm scanning the horizon of all of the scents, you know? Everyone is sort of sitting, yeah, they're sitting horizontally versus stacked on top of each other like a pyramid. And, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Livvy does a lot of her own extractions. So like in the Onam fragrance that's also part of this collection, she has a basmati rice note that she uses real basmati rice to achieve, which I think is so cool. And she takes pride in not using really any synthetics. And it's interesting that she's able to achieve such depth just using naturals, because that's often my complaint with a lot of these naturals is they don't go complex enough, especially like the larger brands where they're really trying to have mass appeal. They're just taking a few aroma chemicals and just like, it's so simple and it's like, it feels like it's missing something, you know? Whereas this it feels like it's a fully realized picture. So yes, that is La Fleur by Livvy, An Indian Summer. And I'll be sure to list this fragrance below for you so you can check it out. It's a really interesting brand. So those are the fragrances I'll be wearing into fall. Hopefully you enjoyed these little reviews. I'm trying something different where I have my microphone on and I'm just kind of walking around the house, smelling my wrist. But to me that almost feels a little more organic if I can just lay some footage on top and just treat this like a voiceover. If you liked any of these fragrances, be sure to check them out in the description box below. So yeah, let me know what you think. Until my next video, I'll talk to you very soon.